Chosen one, this moment isn't random, it's yours. You didn't just stumble here. You were led here, because something bigger is unfolding for you right now. You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet pull inside. That restless knowing that something is about to break open. You are not here by mistake. You are here because heaven has its eyes on you. This is not just another message. This is your confirmation, your wake-up call, your reminder that you are chosen, called, and unstoppable. So lean in, because what's coming isn't small. It's everything you've been waiting and fighting for and more. An unseen order begins weaving itself through existence. Every overlooked chapter, every quiet struggle, every silent question is gathered and recalibrated into a harmonious design. Time, once perceived as a relentless thief, now reveals itself as a patient sculptor, shaping moments that once seemed wasted into something purposeful. What appeared to lag behind was, in fact, positioned for a precise unveiling. This is no mere shift of perspective. It is an invisible architecture moving into place, revealing that the waiting was intentional, looking for purpose and peace. Hit subscribe and start the journey. What once seemed random detours emerge as deliberate seasons of refinement. The spirit is expanded, the will tempered, the mind softened. Gradually, imbalance gives way to a deeper symmetry that touches thought, feeling, connection, and provision. Yet this unfolding does not accommodate cynicism or distraction. It calls for a clearing of the inner space, an emptying of what no longer fits. The threshold ahead demands an open canvas, not cluttered corners. The arrival is vast, and it cannot be received in the confines of what was. Readiness becomes a sanctuary for what is coming. Before continuing this journey, there are 3 deliberate steps to take. First, acknowledge the resonance of this moment, not as ritual but as agreement. Second, contribute to the collective momentum, extending its reach outward. And third, mark the experience with a symbol, a gesture of alignment that speaks to the unseen. In doing so, a declaration is made that transcends mere words. The awareness of chosen destiny often awakens as a quiet insistence within. Resistance may try to blur the signal or convince the heart that opportunity has passed. But time answers differently. It bends, it renews, it synchronizes purpose with presence. This juncture becomes unmistakable for what it is, a signpost written into the very fabric of being. And as attention sharpens to this truth, an irreversible change begins. Tomorrow arrives not as it once did, but as the echo of a divine intention finally catching up to itself. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. This transformation does not come from rest or ritual alone. It emerges from somewhere deeper. It is as though a hidden current moves beneath the surface during the night, untangling knots and releasing unseen weight. Breath feels unburdened, steps feel steadier, thoughts align with a quiet confidence. This is not mere recovery. It is a reconstruction, a deliberate renewal that begins quietly, unnoticed by the world. The inner life and the outer reality begin to echo each other. That persistent heaviness dissolves, the inner resistance fades, clarity sharpens. Survival gives way to alignment, and the body itself responds to the call of destiny with a new rhythm. What was once dissonant now hums with its rightful tone, felt first as a whisper and then as an undeniable force. A quiet revolution begins in the stillness of this first step. The start is not about spectacle, but about crafting the base upon which everything else will stand. Flesh and spirit are intertwined in ways beyond comprehension, and this day becomes the threshold of their renewal. Nothing is shattered beyond repair. No passing years without intention. No soul abandoned to chance. The rebuilding happens with precision, with deliberate care, and with an unspoken affection that settles deep within. It stirs like a memory rediscovered, a subtle shift in how breath and thought move through the body. The change deepens, and its presence becomes impossible to ignore. As the second phase unfolds, what was hidden begins to surface. Faces turn, noticing something altered, though they cannot name it. The surface seems brighter, but the truth lies beneath. This transformation is not crafted by sleep or surface rituals. It is something older, something planted beyond sight. Poise sharpens. Words carry resonance. Being itself becomes a harbor for others. What is witnessed is not a mere glow. It is an unseen equilibrium restoring itself in every fiber. Each scar, each setback, each pause that once settled heavy now dissolves. Cells awaken to forgotten instructions, systems reset, and even the smallest gestures radiate ease. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. An unfamiliar vitality enters the depths of existence, igniting what has long been dormant. The essence of life itself seems to recall its original language, one written in strength, in joy, in clear purpose. What stands forward now is a version once only imagined, now stepping fully into view. Observers struggle to describe what draws them closer, but they cannot look away. This brilliance does not arise from external sources. It wells up from the place where intention was first spoken. Renewal overtakes both flesh and spirit, not for vanity, but as evidence of quiet victory. Rest no longer serves as mere maintenance. It becomes a kind of sacred work. The night opens unseen corridors of repair. In that silence, a deeper work begins, one far beyond conscious awareness. The weight of old griefs, buried fears, and silent exhaustion is touched and unraveled. Stillness becomes the canvas for renewal. While research might measure cycles and chemical rhythms, it cannot map the way transcendence touches every corner of the self. Patterns of thought quiet into harmony. The body adjusts to rhythms that feel almost otherworldly, and the spirit enters a dimension untouched by human remedies. Dreams give way to release. Sleep becomes a passage through which freedom returns. Morning feels less like waking and more like emerging from some hidden sanctuary. Walls that once enclosed the space where sleep occurs now seem to dissolve into something more luminous. The ordinary room becomes a sanctuary where unseen hands complete their work. Slumber no longer carries the weight of apprehension, but the anticipation of what is being arranged beyond sight. Long delays are no longer interpreted as rejection, but as an orchestration of perfect moments. What once felt motionless suddenly moves, as though carried by invisible currents. Acceleration here is not frantic, it is exact. As body, mind, and purpose converge, events begin to unfold with a quiet speed that feels like destiny catching up to itself. Step beyond the screen. Join and help light the way for others. A sudden rhythm takes hold, and the pace of life begins to quicken in ways no one can predict. Invitations arrive, messages come through, ideas burst forth, and vitality surges where weariness once stood. What should unfold over years happens within days, not as exaggeration but as reality. The world watches and whispers about luck or fortune, yet a deeper knowing recognizes the true source. A quiet acknowledgement rises. This is no accident, but a deliberate release of power that resets the course. Delay dissolves as the moment of fulfillment strikes with quiet authority. The transformation is not confined to emotions. Even the body responds. Strength returns to the very structure of being. Skin seems refreshed. Breath flows freely. Bones feel lighter yet stronger. What science might attribute to slow cycles of renewal is overtaken by something beyond their scope. Where they speak of regeneration in decades, a higher current completes the work in days. Cells hum with unseen harmonies, immunity sharpens, and vitality surges, as though every atom remembers its original design. Renewal is not merely recovery, it is rebirth, felt not only in theory but in every movement, every laugh, every stillness. The meeting point of belief and reality becomes undeniable. There is no need for proclamation. Presence alone conveys it. An atmosphere of serenity surrounds. A quiet boldness shines. And observers wonder aloud without knowing what shifted. The answer unfolds without words. A higher hand intervenes. The change requires no justification, no defense. It speaks on its own terms. The energy exudes warmth. The laughter restores. The very silence carries weight. Curiosity will circle, and questions will arise. The only reply necessary is this. It is what happens when eternity touches flesh. leaving a mark impossible to erase. Such change is never private. It resonates outward. No longer is the calling a burden to bear. It becomes a current to ride. What once drained now fuels. The alignment of strength and purpose replaces all misalignment. The discord ends decisively. Tasks that once loomed now feel manageable, even invigorating. Obligations no longer provoke dread but invite engagement. Action flows with unexpected clarity, energy, and inventiveness. Why? Because the body, mind, and spirit are rewritten to work in harmony with the assignment ahead. This is what it feels like to possess the capacity for the magnitude of what has always been waiting. The heaviness lifts. The struggle ceases. This is no longer a crawl. It is a launch. Everything thought to have slipped away remains preserved, quietly waiting in unseen hands. Years thought wasted, aspirations buried under layers of time, seasons mourned as lost. None of it was beyond reach. In a span so brief it seems impossible, events accelerate in ways unexplainable yet undeniable. Opportunities find their way back. Strength once drained is restored with surplus. What was once considered too late is revealed as perfectly timed. When the creator of time steps inside the sequence, the rules of counting no longer apply. Time folds in unexpected ways, drawing the distant close, the deferred into the present. Movements align. Connections reappear. Paths open. In that moment of realization, awe takes over. How could it all converge so swiftly? It is not chance. It is the compression of destiny into a single, undeniable season, and it unfolds exactly as it was always meant to. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. A quiet revelation unfolds. The body does not merely house the spirit, it echoes it. Every unresolved wound, every detour from truth, every hesitation in purpose silently imprints itself on the physical form. Yet as the inner world is brought back into alignment, the outer begins to shift in response. This is not speculation, but a tangible reaction of matter to meaning. Subtle signs emerge. Weight lifts from muscles once rigid. The unrest in the center of being softens. Surfaces regain calm. Vision grows clearer. All these signals point to a deeper synchronization underway. When the core attunes to its rightful pattern, the external follows suit, like an orchestra finally finding its rhythm. Discomfort yields. Vitality reclaims its place. Lingering symptoms of strain dissolve quietly. The sense of lightness is not imagined. It is restoration flowing outward. The haze that clouds thought is more than weariness. It is dissonance at the level of spirit. When confusion fills the mind, choice falters, emotion unravels, clarity seems out of reach. But in a span of hours, that haze begins to clear as an unseen clarity arrives. The inner ear sharpens. The noise quiets. Guidance resounds like a signal cutting through static. Thoughts organize themselves without force. Options no longer overwhelm. Instincts take the lead. Silent prayers are met with direction. Racing thoughts settle into solutions. This is more than mental clarity. It is a perceptive awareness that extends beyond the visible. The shift is real. The unseen turns up its volume, and what was muffled becomes unmistakable. Environments reveal themselves upon entry. Conversations unveil their truths as they unfold. This is not mere intellect, but heightened discernment already in motion. A new radiance begins to surface, impossible to imitate with any artifice. It emerges as balance takes hold, as intention ignites, as spirit finds its anchor. The result is not vanity, but a visible mark of change. History offers moments when presence itself became luminous after encounter, and the same remains true here. The canvas of the face softens. The gaze steadies. The features relax into quiet assurance. Observers notice without understanding. Some speculate about treatments or routines. But what has happened is neither manufactured nor superficial. It is the afterglow of a meeting that transformed more than appearance. It reached the essence. No formula can replicate it. No pretense can fake it. Because when deeper forces touch the body, both feeling and form bear witness, and nothing external can strip it away. A shift touches movement itself, altering how one navigates the world. Each step gains clarity. Each gesture feels intentional. There is no rush, no heaviness, only presence. The way forward is claimed rather than chased. That quiet strength in every stride signals a knowing beyond words. Even speech transforms. Not louder, but sharper. Not forceful, but full. Those who hear pause, not because of volume, but because of resonance. Words cease to fill silence for its own sake. Instead, they become tools, keys, and light in unfamiliar places. Utterances soothe storms, steady anxious hearts, untangle confusion, because voice now carries the imprint of truth, and that frequency cannot be counterfeited. A new kind of control settles, and thoughts no longer scatter aimlessly, but sharpen into deliberate plans. What was once fear transforms into clarity. What was once endless rumination gives way to sudden insight. Life is no longer endured, it is commanded. As inner alignment deepens, the outer world begins to adapt to this emerging cadence. Every falsehood insisting the opportunity past fades into silence. Every whisper of doubt claiming the moment is gone dissolves. Those voices never belonged to truth. They were shadows of fear. This moment marks a rewriting of the entire story. Not editing, recreating. Because with a higher hand at work, there is no such thing as aging out. Every stage is preparation, not disqualification. Time is not measured in hours and seasons, but in readiness. Falling behind was always an illusion. Everything arrives precisely when it should. The next hours are not a frantic attempt to make up ground. They are a launch into something entirely new. Perception of time shifts as well. Panic is replaced with assurance. Urgency is replaced with trust. Comparison evaporates. Why? Because this path was always unique, sculpted outside of human measurement. And within that design, nothing is wasted. This is not simply motivation, not wishful thinking. This is substantive change. The body itself begins to respond. Posture straightens, energy accumulates, mood stabilizes, and reflection confirms it. It is more than imagined. It is evident in breath and bone and blood. What many call positivity is something much deeper. A prophecy manifesting in real space and time. The shift permeates down to the smallest parts of existence, aligning biology with destiny. Every cell vibrates with its proper frequency. Every fiber of being remembers its assignment. This is not something to retreat from. Do not distrust the speed at which it arrives. There is no trick. Nothing is too good. It simply is what was always promised. This is not a fracture of the mind, but a reunion with the true self. And it becomes visible, undeniable, spilling into reality over the next 2 days. This transformation is not delayed for another season. It begins now. Presence itself becomes the testimony. Words are no longer required to prove it. Every motion, every glance, every encounter begins to carry the message. Observers feel it, comment on it, wonder about it. This is the moment not to boast, but to confirm. This is what happens when vitality, calling, and timing converge. This shift radiates outward, touching more than just one life. It signals something to others still waiting for their own change. The breakthrough here breaks chains elsewhere. And this moment is just the opening movement. What begins now extends far into the future. This is not merely a revival, it is a recommissioning. Not just a return, but a higher level unlocked. The mind itself evolves under the weight of this change. Old patterns collapse. Doubt and fear dissolve like mist struck by morning. Thoughts no longer stumble, but flow with ease. Decisions no longer paralyze, but unfold naturally. A sharper awareness takes hold, revealing connections that were always present but unseen. Insights arrive fully formed, and what once felt impossible now feels manageable. This is not merely intellectual growth. It is a divine expansion of mental capacity. The mind begins to operate on a different plane, interpreting with foresight and understanding that transcends ordinary thought. Complex problems shrink into solvable patterns because perspective has shifted upward, seeing from above rather than within. A shift in essence draws connections that reflect a higher internal resonance. Encounters begin to carry substance. People lean in to listen not because of credentials, but because the words spoken seem to strike a chord they didn't even know they carried. Instinct guides what is shared, and when silence is kept, there is no longer a battle to find direction. It emerges naturally from within. This is not a fleeting spark. It is a permanent restructuring. What once took hours to untangle now resolves in moments. This is the result of wholeness reaching both thought and authority over one's own life. A call arises to shape, to envision, to lead. And finally, the mind is ready to meet it. As this transformation unfolds, even work no longer feels like an endless climb. The heaviness of proving and pushing evaporates. Instead, effort feels sacred, deliberate, and purposeful. Tasks that used to deplete begin to align with a deeper rhythm. Ambition no longer grows out of fear or the need to impress. Instead, it roots itself in impact and meaning. Risks are embraced, ideas flow boldly, and spaces that once felt intimidating now feel like home. Not because of striving, but because the realization dawns. Greatness was always embedded. Purpose fuels every move now. Even the atmosphere shifts, toxicity dissolves, supportive forces appear, and opportunities arrive uninvited. This isn't frantic striving. This is strategic flow, anchored in something unshakable. Labor becomes joy. Work itself transforms from obligation into calling. Hands create things that endure because they are moved by something beyond profit. What used to feel like strain now feels like privilege, a realization that even effort itself can be an offering. Relational dynamics undergo a quiet evolution too. The people nearby either ascend with a new frequency or quietly step aside. This isn't abandonment but refinement. Distractions are cleared, making way for connections that carry depth and integrity. The superficial loses appeal. Frivolous chatter, shallow attachments, and draining exchanges hold no interest anymore. The spirit begins craving alignment over acceptance, honesty over comfort, substance over noise. Relationships that once seemed lively suddenly feel empty. Distance may sting at first, but it opens room for connections that honor the new level. Others appear who not only celebrate progress, but protect it. There's no need to explain peace. Those meant to understand will recognize it. Discernment sharpens, who to welcome closer, who to release, who to forgive, and who to walk alongside into the future. This isn't loneliness, it's an intentional curation of harmony. The voice also begins to carry new authority. Words no longer merely fill air, they shape what follows. Utterances create movement, alter environments, dismantle fear, and invite restoration. What is spoken resonates beyond emotion, impacting even the unseen. Statements provoke healing, command stillness, and anchor spaces in truth. Not everyone comprehends the source of this newfound confidence, but the weight of silence has been replaced with a voice that knows its purpose. This clarity extends inward as well. No more endless self-doubt, no more silencing inner wisdom. The dialogue within becomes affirming and firm, building an identity so solid it can't be shaken by outside opinions. Speaking no longer feels like routine, it becomes intentional. Declarations bless the body, shape the future, calm the atmosphere. Speech becomes a tool, not just to express, but to construct habits and dismantle chains. Those old patterns, overindulging, overthinking, avoiding, criticizing, lose their grip, not by sheer effort, but because the spirit is no longer starved. Strength floods in, and what once controlled is now dissolved. Desires begin to change as the inner alignment takes hold. Cravings quietly shift toward what nourishes rather than numbs. Choices feel less like discipline and more like instinct. The things that once promised comfort reveal themselves as empty, and new appetites awaken, ones that heal instead of harm. There's no rigid set of rules to follow. There is simply an awareness of what truly sustains. What once demanded willpower now requires nothing at all, because the pull toward what drains is replaced by the pull toward what restores. The freedom of release replaces the burden of resistance. The clarity of living light, moving with ease, and waking without regret makes the cost of old patterns too high to pay. This isn't shallow behavior change. It's a profound internal shift that redefines identity. No longer seen as fractured striving for wholeness, but as someone whole refusing to be fractured again. The internal dialogue softens and strengthens simultaneously. The voice that used to undermine growth and question worth learns a new language. Words within sound like conviction, encouragement, and kindness. Doubts may still come, but now there is an arsenal of truth ready to dismantle them. Patterns of criticism are interrupted before they spiral. Lies are spotted before they take root. The tone of self-talk matches the compassion once sought in others, and it feels like it belonged there all along. This is not forced positivity. It's the fruit of deep repair. When spirit and mind come into rhythm, the way of thinking toward oneself transforms entirely. Waking becomes a chance to affirm rather than condemn. Mistakes no longer provoke shame, but invite learning. Rest is no longer guilt-ridden, but embraced as earned. The internal voice moves from antagonist to ally, and that inner sound begins shaping out a reality, because thought carves the path action follows. Thoughts are no longer simply better. They are alive with purpose. As balance grows, even the space around begins to reflect a change. The urge to clear, to order, to beautify arises naturally. Chaos becomes intolerable not because of control, but because harmony feels too good to surrender. Surroundings are adjusted to match the calm within. What is heard, worn, eaten, and touched all subtly shifts. Spaces once cluttered turn into sanctuaries. The smallest corners, a desk, a bedroom, a car, begin carrying the same quiet that fills the heart. This ripple extends further still. Entire settings shift. New roles emerge, new places open, new communities appear. The geography of life begins to reposition. This isn't random. It's a response to the inner change. The locations and circles that fed the old version fall away, and new environments that support the transformed self come into view. It's not superficial movement. It's a deeper relocation, aligning everything outside to what is already aligned inside.